Wasabi guys, welcome back to another Top 10 Commander video. This time I would like to go over my picks for the 10 best tutor cards in the Commander format. But before I get started, first I would like to remind you that most of you who are watching right now are not actually subscribed to the channel, so I would really appreciate it if you took a second to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, just so you don't miss any future episodes. Now, as a bit of criteria for this video, I thought about handling this in a different way where I just listed the 10 best tutor cards that were literally called tutors, so it had to have tutor in the name, but I realized that would kind of be pointless because we have a lot of cards that we've been calling tutors for years that don't have tutor in the name. It goes beyond just simply having that name. It really is just a function of searching for a card. Now, where that card ends up, it's a little bit different, varies from card to card here. It could be your hand, it could be the top of your deck, it could be onto the battlefield, it could be your graveyard, but the point is you're going to be searching for at least one card and making that card easier for you to access. So number 10 here we have Expedition Map. I think land search is incredibly underrated, especially when you have the freedom to search for whatever card. Don't confuse this with ramp. We have a ton of ramp spells, a lot of search cards that search for lands and put them into play. I wouldn't consider those tutors because they don't give you the freedom of searching for mostly anything beyond basic lands. Expedition Map won't ramp you, it will get you a specific land from your deck. This is most commonly seen in decks that have very powerful, very useful lands for their strategies, such as with mono black players who want to take advantage of something like a Cabal Coffers. If you have a land like that can net you a ton of black mana, Expedition Map is necessary. It makes it so you don't have to use your better tutors just to search up a specific land. We have another land tutor here in Crop Rotation. Similar idea, this isn't meant to ramp you up, it's meant to get you to a specific land. I just like Expedition Map better because it's colorless, it fits in the decks that really can't take advantage of land search like green does. And then number 9 we have Entomb, probably the best graveyard tutor in the game. If we're just talking about any card that can search for a creature, a land, instant, sorcery, whatever you need, maybe it has flashback, Entomb is definitely above average. 1 black mana, instant speed, fits into a ton of competitive decks because of that cheap cost, which is going to be a recurring theme on this list, cheap tutors that make it easier for you to continue your turn. If you have to use this on your turn, it's still only 1 black mana, freeing up the rest of your turn's mana to do with whatever you wish. But this is essential for graveyard decks. You need some way of searching for creatures, putting them straight to your graveyard. And then number 8 we have Worldly Tutor. Worldly Tutor, out of the 1 mana instant speed, put it on top of your deck tutors. Those were all from around Mirage, you had Visions. Just searching up a creature usually isn't the best thing that you can do in Commander unless you could cheat it straight to play, but if you only can search for a creature, Worldly Tutor is pretty decent. It is above average. There's also Eladamri's Call, but that's 2 different colors that you're required to play, so freedom-wise you do have the benefit of playing whatever green deck you want to, and searching for the best creature in your library. Better tutors are able to search for problem solvers, better tutors are able to search for any card, so that's why Worldly Tutor does find itself a little bit lower here. And then number 7 we have Green Sun's Zenith. A notch above Worldly Tutor in my opinion, even though you can only search for green creatures. The fact that you can cheat a creature into play this way, if you know the CMC of what you're looking for, this is really what you're looking for if you're going to be searching for creatures in a creature-based deck, which a lot of the time is going to be green anyway. You don't want to have to wait to get that creature, you want to put it straight into play. A lot of what these other tutors are going to be searching for, you're able to hold on to that, sit on that, maybe it's a response card, maybe it's a counter spell. With creatures you do want to speed up your deck a bit. And Green Sun Zenith is incredibly popular because not only is it good format to format, but in Commander, where you have a ton of cards to choose from, where you have a ton of great creatures to choose from, it allows you to search for exactly what you want and just dump it straight into play. Something like a Craterhoof Behemoth is a win con. Just incredibly popular in the format as a way of winning the game. And then number 6 we have Intuition, probably the priciest card on this list. You get the first real card here that can benefit you if you're a graveyard deck, or not. You will have 2 cards that end up in your graveyard, but the idea here is that since you're playing a singleton format, chances are you can find 3 cards in your deck that do the same thing, or close to the same thing, that solve a problem, that allow you to continue your combo, whatever. It's very similar to the card Gifts Ungiven. It's a bit more fair though, since you don't end up with that kind of advantage in getting 2 cards to your hand and setting up combos pretty easily. But still, instant speed, 3 mana blue tutor, can't really go wrong here. Does synergize with graveyard decks, synergizes with control decks, and it's pretty rare in blue to get whatever card you want out of a tutor. Usually it's something like instants and sorceries, artifacts, so this is definitely nice, if you can afford it, that is. And then number 5, we have Enlightened Tutor. Enlightened Tutor works exactly the same way as Worldly Tutor, but you're able to search for artifacts and enchantments, which is a lot better than just searching for creatures. Again, it does depend on the deck, but most of the time if you're able to search for 2 different permanent types, especially when you have combo pieces that are enchantments, you have combo pieces that are artifacts, and that happens a lot more often than combo pieces that are creatures. Enlightened Tutor does seem to find itself in a lot more competitive decks than some of the previous tutors on this list. It also happens to be one of the few good tutors in white, which does help it to stand apart. You do have some enchantment search cards like Idyllic Tutor, you have some equipment search cards like Stoneforge Mystic, but Enlightened Tutor just straight up allows you to search for any artifact or enchantment. So definitely leading the pack when it comes to mono white cards. And then number 4, we have Gamble. Gamble is mechanically going to work in a similar way to some of the best tutors in the game. However, you still do have the downside of needing to discard, which means that late game it could be dead. If you don't have too many cards in your hand, and you end up having to discard the card that you search for, that's a huge downside. But a lot of the same decks I talked about before, graveyard synergies, a lot of those decks are prepared to discard and retrieve from the graveyard, making Gamble a little less of an inconvenience. Only 1 red mana, it follows that trend of being a reasonably costed search card that will allow you to continue your turn. This is fantastic in something like Keth's Dissident Mage, because even if you do have to discard whatever you searched up for, chances are you can get it back. It's just a great card because, like Enlightened Tutor, red doesn't have too many good cards like this, with the kind of precision that you can get a certain card. It could be any card from your deck. And then number 3, we have Mystical Tutor. One of the first cards on this list that will allow you to search up pretty much every other card here, with the exception of Expedition Map. Mystical Tutor's great because, hey, you need a better tutor? Go search it up. You need a counterspell? Go get your counterspell. You need your problem solver, removal spell? Go and search it up. If you're playing competitively, this is useful because a lot of the win cons in competitive EDH take advantage of something like Tainted Pact, Ad Nauseam, maybe you need an Angel's Grace. No matter what it is, it just seems that the most powerful spells, the most powerful ways of winning can be retrieved with Mystical Tutor, which does make it an above average and competitive tutor spell. Instant speed, being able to do this at your opponent's end step is huge. It means that you can start your turn with whatever you searched up. And then number 2, we're getting there. We're talking about the best of the best here. Vampiric Tutor. Similar to Mystical Tutor, Enlightened Tutor, and Worldly Tutor, but from Visions originally, you had to pay 2 life in addition. But you can search for whatever card you want to, and put it on top of your library. You don't have to reveal it. I can't stress this enough, that's why black is arguably the strongest color in Commander. A lot of people have their opinions about blue, so don't chew my head off, but black is just so well rounded because the downside of having to pay something like life would normally be a big deal in 1v1 when you only start out at 20 life. It's almost irrelevant when we talk about Commander. The additional costs are not a significant downside. They don't help to balance much of what is just being able to search for whatever you want without revealing it. And you see this with a ton of black tutors. You have great variety in cost, speed, like Vampiric Tutor here, instant speed. Some people would use that as an argument for why this should be number 1. I think you know right now what number 1 is, but we'll get to that in a second. Vampiric Tutor is like top tier tutor. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than this, and it gives you exactly the same impact as number 1, just a little bit different with the cost and the timing, and the fact that it does end up on the top of your library. So number 1 here is Demonic Tutor. 2 mana, sorcery speed, puts it straight into your hand. This is the tutor. If you're playing black and you want to make your deck more competitive, this is your first step to doing that. It's pricey without being reserve list pricey, so it's still something that the casual player can afford, which I appreciate. You do have different versions, different printings, which makes it easier to access, but you have the best tutor because you can search for whatever you want. There's no additional cost like paying life or discarding a card or sacrificing a creature. It's the best tutor ever made in my opinion, because the turn you get it, you can get whatever you want. You don't have to wait like with Vampiric Tutor, you don't have to draw into it. It's 1 mana more expensive, but it's worth that 1 mana to get it straight to your hand. But other than that, everything I just said about Vampiric Tutor, it's true of Demonic Tutor. And you will almost always see them in the same deck, because if you're playing Demonic Tutor, it's not really much more expensive to play the other one. So anyway, let me know what you think about these 10 tutor cards, my opinion of the 10 best tutor cards. Let me know some of your favorites in the comment section below. You all have a good day. Void here signing off. I will see you all next time.